Yes, this is the same clip you seen last week. Welcome back to Everything from Nottingham, Ireland's greatest show, according to scientists. We did not say that. Scientists did. Thanks everyone for watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify. If anyone would like to help us out by donating, you can click the Acast supporter link in the description of this episode and every episode. You can donate any amount you want, and all the donations will go back into the podcast, into the equipment, and so on and so forth. We want to do loads of things. We have loads of ideas, blah, 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 blah. We really appreciate your support. And yeah, again, the link is in the description. You can donate however amount you want, and all donations are appreciated equally. And yeah, over to the episode. Swoosh.
But the key with Lou was his skill base. So he arrives at the Hill of Tara. They're holding conference there. He goes...
Who is there?
Says
the doorman.
Ask the doorman. Thank you, Seamus. It is Misha, Lulam father.
And what skills do you bring to the king?
Right, we're going to do. Do you know we're going to do the Angelas? We do the Angelas.
What? Doesn't you clap with the mic?
Oh. No, but it's good. Yeah, but the mic, it's still pick it up. It's all good. It's just different angle. Yeah, we do it like a. So normally before we start with our guests, we do a half an hour silence.
You
we all stare at each other. To get to know each other.
There's no smiling.
Yeah.
It upsets the gods.
Yeah.
Stop smiling.
Okay, sorry. I could never do that. I couldn't. Okay, welcome back to Everything from Nottingham, Ireland's most silent show. Hugh's taking a stand of protest. He's not happy,
silence.
and he's not happy with the podcast. He said that none of you are subscribing, and he's taking protest.
It will be silent podcasts from now on.
He hasn't eaten in 7 days, so please feed Hugh by pressing subscribe. Today we're joined by 4 guests. We're joined by a returning guest, Santiago or Seamus. And then what's the dog's?
This is Evie.
Evie's the...
What's Evie's second name?
Evie's an undercover wolfhound.
Wow.
An undercover wolfhound. Nice. That's
Evie.
Cool. And then you're Sarah.
I'm Sarah Humble, yes. I restore and regenerate holy wells, so my project is all as well.
That's cool tagline. Is that the name of the project? Like
that's the name of the project.
That's cool. All is well. I actually like that. That's actually really cool. And then Owen, what's your second name again?
Connacht.
Oh man, we talked about
yeah, because you talked about the whole content before we started.
We know all his family from Thurles.
Yeah, so there's loads to talk about, but it'll be fairly what?
Owen is one of the Connachtons.
One of the I have no idea what that means, to be honest.
I can sort you out with free candy floss.
Candy floss.
From a house of fun that used to be in Thurles.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know where to start. Should we start with Evie? Evie's a prolific what's the word for a pilgrim?
She's a mountaineer.
Mountaineer
Pilgrimage. So last year, Evie followed the trail of Lulam Fada.
Okay.
So the story of Lou from Tory Island, his conception all the way down to County Meath and Knockcrew. So she walked 550 miles.
Oh wow, that's mad.
She went over the second most difficult mountain range in Ireland called the Seven Sisters.
Yeah.
Like a boss.
That's mental. So, like when you actually think about how small the distance between her tiny legs to be able to do that is mad.
Absolutely. She spent a lot of time here.
That's class. Oh yeah. That's funny.
She goes jumping over and around and up and down. She's good for keeping up.
Even mention of that long fada thing is getting the dog back up on your shoulder.
Yeah,
absolutely. She's ready for road, you know. So
what was that walk about? Did you say again?
It was a journey through the Holy Wells of Ireland, but also following the ley line alignments through the sacred lines and showing how our mythology corresponds with the landscape.
Okay, cool.
So Tory Island was where Lou was conceived, so that's obviously where we started.
Yeah.
And then we. Oh geez, the trail kind of goes into my head now after a while, but it was 550 miles. Wow. So we'd walk and different people would join us in along the way. We had different experts talking to us as we went down the country, because each locality has their own level of experts, and the story followed all the way down through the country, through the sacred sites. When we'd stop at the sacred sites, we'd light a fire and we'd let people know that we were there. And quite often people visit these places but never get the chance to quite interact with them.
Yeah.
So by having a tinner there, you know, and they bring their cup of tea, where they were able to come and tell what they knew about Lou. And so we got a really, really large, expansive view of this story through the landscape.
That's cool.
I know nothing really about Lou. I know. Yeah.
Well, how long have you got? The walk took us 3 months to do.
Give us his greatest hits there. What was his best song?
Greatest hits. Lou was the bringer of light. He was born between two tribes, the Fomorians and the Tuatha. So the Fomorians were very similar to what we see, heavy taxation, oppressed people, always working, you know, raping the landscape for profit.
Okay.
Was very much coin of the Fomorians, and then to the Tuatha, who were all about the storytelling, the magic, the love, the participation within the arts, the participation. Lou was born from these two tribes.
Wow.
And through his epic tale, he ends up going under the god of the sea. He goes into fosterage with Taltu, who is the goddess of agriculture. You know, he went on this mad journey to be able to gain all of these skills. He comes back up into Ireland and he kind of looks around and kind of at his people kind of going, thinking he was Tuatha, he didn't know his bloodline in at the time, kind of looking around and going, lads, what are you doing? Why are you paying these taxes? What the hell is going on? Where is your pride? Where is your dignity?
Yeah.
So Lou started pretty much holding up the two fingers up to the Fomorians and going, we're not going to pay the taxes. Yeah. Started drawing in community support, you know, he started having a band going in and along. But the key with Lou was his skill base. So he arrives at the Hill of Tara, they're holding conference there, he goes,
who calls there?
Says ask the doorman, thank you, Seamus. It is Misha, Lulam Father.
And what skills do you bring to the king?
Well, I'm a blacksmith, says he.
Sure, we have enough of those.
Well, I'm a carpenter of the finest caliber, says he.
Sure, the ramparts of Tara were built by the finest carpenters in the land.
I'm a cupbearer, says he.
Plenty of them as well.
Plenty of them, and Lou continues to list all of these skills until this pivotal moment where this list was as long as Santi's.
Well done.
And he says, you've got a man for each task. Do you have a man who can do them all? The gatekeeper says, well, fair fucks. Come in, Towerstock and it. You can have a seat at the table. And the pivocalness of Irish society was that you had to prove yourself. It was skill-based. So Lou was bid in welcome. But as soon as he was sat at that table, he was asked to show up.
Yeah.
He was prove yourself. So he had to go through each of these skills that he had proclaimed and prove himself until the High King himself offered Lou his chair. Because participation and kinghood and kingship within Ireland very much determined on how you gave back to the community. It was not this colonised view of what kingship is, where the people serve the king. The king serves the land and the people.
Yeah.
The pilgrimage we did was the second one. The first one went from Ballinskelligs all the way up to the Slane, and it was exploring the concepts of sovereignty.
Yeah.
What is sovereignty and what is the sovereignty of the land? The second pilgrimage we did from Tory Island to Lough Crew, we kind of tagged it with a big giant S, you know.
A giant what?
S.
For...
Well, there was a girl called Sarah Henley who did the first pilgrimage.
Okay. Yeah.
She did the first bottom of the half of the S, and I did the top S. So we kind of graffitied the island.
That's cool.
But the wells got cleaned in all along the way, and it was to really bring back the fact that we have a very varied, rich culture. There is mythology attached to each part of the landscape. There was pilgrimages before the Camino came out and whatnot. Why are people leaving this island to go and connect in with themselves when we have everything that we need here.
Yeah.
And we have this like rich lore to rediscover.
What's the one through Cashel, Clonmel, St. Declan's Way or something like that, is it?
In Clonmel.
It's
There's
South-
roads like
South
that everywhere,
Tipperary, yeah.
all around the
There's
island.
one spread around, but there's a guy from Thurles who's actually trying
John
to
Dwyer,
map.
is it?
No, Paul, he's trying to map out like a sort of, because he's similar thing. He did the Camino in Spain, and then he thought like, why did I have to leave my country? He was not feeling well at the time, and he's like, why did I have to? It was very good for him to do it. Like it helped him change him, but he thought, why did I have to leave my country to do it? So at the moment, he's mapped out this amazing thing that he showed me, and he's been working on it years. But like, yeah, it's just one walk all up the west of Ireland. It's actually longer than the Camino, like what so far he's mapped out, because there's so much like I don't know, hills and stuff like that in Ireland. But yeah, you do see a lot of like spread out ones, but there's
You
no.
worked a bit as also to show that it can be done.
Yeah.
Because you walked uninterruptedly pretty much for like 3 months.
Yeah, that's mad. Like,
Living in a ditch the whole
That's
way,
class,
carrying
like,
my own body weight.
Equipment, training, there was a lot that went into it. But it was
That's
also a bit
mad.
of the inaugural kind of
Yeah.
promotion of the Ferry Council. Also, like, this has begun now, and this is a way. It was a way for us to, or mostly for her, I suppose, to also spread the good word that okay, we are planning this and we're starting to
Yeah.
open up spaces for unity and for skill-based criteria to help the land.
And we're so
Yeah.
dedicated that we're actually willing to walk 550 miles for this concept. And I said,
Yeah, that's really cool.
Which kind of leads on to what happened there a couple of weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago now?
2 weeks, yeah. I think 2 weeks.
So it was Woods for the Wolves. Maybe you might explain, Owen?
Yes. So we
Could you say into your thing first?
Yeah.
If you just push it in.
Or pull it towards you.
Those ones are different to this ones. These ones are more rude. Like you need to be like kind of closer to them. But
Get
but you're
intimate.
good. You're good. Yeah, you get intimate. Yeah. You have to want to leave with the mic. That's how much you have to. But yeah, sorry. Go on anyway. So yeah, you just did Owen's over your project. It's a registered charity now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Gaelic Woodland is it project or?
Gaelic Woodland project.
Yeah, and so you've just set that up as a charity, which you probably get into that 'cause that's a bit of a ring road.
Yeah, that was a journey. It took 16 months to get that charitable status.
Yeah, it's
but
mental stuff.
The idea is simple. It's just a matter of empowerment.
Yeah.
That was it, to create a platform for people to engage. And that's like so harmonious with the Ferry Council
Yeah.
as well. Just hold that space where people are welcome to come and participate, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And it can only be done with the people.
Definitely, yeah.
So the walk was fantastic. It was organised by the Wolf Academy,
Yeah.
Darrell and Cormac.
To raise money for...
money for a forest.
Yeah, okay, right.
So the Wicklow Way, I don't know if you've ever done the Wicklow Way. It's a 5 to 7 day walk.
127 kilometers.
27 kilometers.
Oh, wow.
A
That's
lot
mad.
of it over mountain ranges.
Yeah, up. They designed it to go up and over the hills.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a part of the
The
experience.
vistas are incredible.
They are.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are.
Sadly, they did it on a new moon night in December, so they were walking in darkness for, I'd say,
Shit.
85% of the whole experience.
That's mental.
Yeah. I appreciate the sun when it was there,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's set so early this time of the year. So
Yeah.
we started at 6:45 in the morning, and it was hilarious when we actually left. We were in Cloughan. Clonegall.
Yeah.
We're in Clonegall,
Carlo.
and there was 10 of us there, got ready, backpacks, sticks. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
And we didn't know where to go.
Which way, they said. That road.
That's funny.
And we went, oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph and all the goddesses and gods up there, may those boys be kept safe.
and kept safe they were. Like there was a deployment of care and quality, of good quality care, pushed by the skill set of this fine woman that stands next to me here.
That was incredible.
Of support for the lads, because
That's
some of them appeared with these big, huge bags. There was this plan to meet them alongside different checkpoints and allow them to change clothes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But when Sarah got involved, she brought in a whole other level of duty of care, which involved, the cooking,
Yeah,
good, hearty, proper meals for them, body work, spiritual advice. By the second checkpoint, they were almost out of their bodies with the...
That's mad.
Because they had worked how
Shock
long?
at that point. So we left Meath at 3:30 in the morning. We arrived in Clonegall in Carlow at 6 6:20, 6:30. We left at 6:45. And when we arrived in the little park, Sarah had a fire.
That's cool.
Not only a fire, we had the finest of potages. You know, Irish porridge is an art form.
Yeah.
So we had the yarrows, we had the nettle seeds, because the yarrow is really important, you know, an overall healing herb.
What's that arrow? Is it?
Yarrow.
It's a yarrow.
Yarrow, so it grows in and around. I found actually a really rare type of version. I can't remember which town, but it was pink.
Oh wow!
Pink yarrow.
That's mad.
So that went in the nettle seeds, which has a high amount of magnesium with it, which would help the stretch of the muscles. So we plant their meals. Like I had 3 months to incubate. How do you sustain your body? What the lads did would have taken me 3 weeks. Because I like pottering around, I like looking at the herbs, I like sitting down at the tree and looking at the view and then taking a few more steps and maybe stopping and talking to Paddy Joe and along the way.
Yeah.
You know, to watch these boys do what I would do in a couple of weeks in hours.
Yeah.
You know, it was like this, it was like a speed up version of anything that I could achieve, you know what I mean? But the knowledge that I was able to offer forward was, you know, I was like, oh, thank God I walked.
There was a very funny moment where we had this very serious discussion of the morality of using, because by the third checkpoint, I think it was their feet were in a state. And I was in charge of the social media communications to try and motivate people to donate. And we were thinking, is it too pity mongering to post a picture of these lads' feet to show them what they're doing for Ireland? You can donate a tenner from the comfort of your own warm home. Look at these guys, what they're doing. We decided against it because we thought it was a bit, kind of...
Well, it would need to come with a warning if you were going to share that image.
It was gross, like it was very gross.
Really? Is it that bad? That's mad.
One lad had a blister that came up over from the bottom of the baby toe and up over the nail.
People would ask for their money back if you see that, like definitely.
Well, and they were prepared as well. Like they wrapped their feet, they took good care of them in the beginning.
Lots of Compeed, they had zinc oxide tape to wrap their feet, they had talc powder to keep it dry. Nothing was going to do the punishment that they actually did. So by the time, I think it was 2 checkpoints before the end of the walk, was it? Or maybe the one before they hit Dublin and we were in...
the middle of the night?
No, the one where we had breakfast. And we ended up binding the boys' feet with moss.
Oh, wow. That would be nice.
They had like 3 hours to finish. No, it was the last.
Mad.
There was no zinc. There was no zinc tape left. There was no Compeed left. You know, we're looking around, going, "What do we do? Boys, they're bleeding all over the ground for Ireland." You know, and then we looked around, and there was this perfect, comfortable moss. And the moss would absorb all of the broken blisters and also give a lot of cushioning in and
antibacterial.
And it's also antibacterial. So we dusted it off and we bound their feet in it. And they said that's the only thing that actually got them to Dublin was that moss.
Definitely, that would make some difference. Like there'd be like cooling on the feet as well, like that natural cooling feeling.
Well, it's a bit of poetry. They stand up to for the sake of this land, and the land will actually hold them in it.
Yeah, that is cool. So like how did you, were you happy with, like, did you get much support from it? How did you find it? Like, what was the outside perspective of people who were watching you doing it, social media?
We had a lot of messages coming in, and people were so happy that there was young men that would go out and do this, that they would do something so difficult, so trying for the land. Like Darrell and Cormac reached out and they said, look, we want to do this, we want to raise money to make a forest, we're going to walk the entire Wicklow Way non-stop. So they started in Carlow, we started in Carlow, and we didn't stop for by the end of it 33 hours.
That's amazing.
33 hours.
And Cormac are a friend of ours who founded the Wolf Academy, and they offer workshops of wellness and mindfulness for secondary level students in schools.
Oh, that's cool.
It's great. It's
you definitely need a lot more of that. Like where everyone's setting up, there is a lot of people setting up cool workshops and stuff like that. But there definitely needs to be people focusing in on stuff like that. Like you will find it's hard. Of course, some schools would shut it down, but you will find
they're busy enough, though, and they're bringing the message of to the teenagers that you are not your living cert. Grades. You are way more than
that's cool. And they're going into schools then, and their schools are starting to be open.
And they're
that's
getting
cool.
super busy, and they connected with Sarah, and through that they were talking about what they could do to give back to the land. She put them in contact with him. They got inspired.
That's
we walk the Wicklow Way, and that's, I suppose, you and I have talked about that before. Like that's, I suppose, what the intention always was all along when we started working on the Ferry Council was this facilitating, the contacts between people, and you see it there. They start getting inspired, and
that's
there
really
were 6
cool.
projects involved. So you had Emily Niari, who helped run the support vehicle and did all the helped with all the cooking and everything. She was absolutely mighty.
Yeah.
She was in a car, so she was able to go off and get the water, because we went through an awful lot of water. Then you had the Gaelic Woodland project. You had the Wolf Academy. You had Seamus Dragal, who is the entity of himself, and you had the All Is Well. There was 6 projects co-creating for a common goal.
That's really cool.
This is what we would like to put forward, is that maybe all we've been lacking is a damn good plan.
Oh, that's 100% it. Like, that's 100% it. All over the world, that's 100% it. It's literally it. Like a plan. Like that's actually all that's wrong.
And I think people, we're in the age of Aquarius. This is an age of the water carrier. So to carry water, you need a container.
Yeah.
And that container can be us co-creating and holding each other in the support. I mean, individually, we're all very individually motivated and passionate about our skill bases, but when you combine my knowledge of the water with Owen's knowledge of the trees, then the knowledge of the young men, then Santi with his beautiful articulation of understanding so much about Ireland, our history, and on an academic level, so he can put a lot of context. It becomes something that is a breathing ecosystem, essentially, through people and through projects.
What do you take? Like, okay, so what? Can I just ask two of you just clarification? Because I don't think we ever asked you this, because we were waiting for you to come on as well. The two of you are involved in the Fairy Council. What is the Fairy Council?
$1 million question.
Okay, I can give you the very short response that I give people.
Yeah.
The Fairy Council at the moment is simply a networking platform.
Yeah.
For projects that are based according to our ecology, culture and heritage.
Yeah.
They are grassroots projects that we are looking for, projects that are community based. We endeavour to help leave a trail of breadcrumbs for people that are returning to the island or suddenly deciding that they want to get involved in something other than what they have been actually presented with.
Which there's a lot of at the moment, like a lot of people. Yeah.
And also to offer the support to other projects, that there are like-minded projects like them, that they can reach out and communicate and create something better.
Yeah. That's a really good description of it. Like that's a really good, I made sense in my head. Every word of that was perfect. Because it is hard to, how long does it take you to be able, because stuff that we do, like sometimes it takes like the thing happening, it's like before I can explain it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's hard to explain what you're doing, but you know what you're doing in your head, but you can't articulate until it's done, and then maybe you can. Did you find it hard to explain what you were doing in the beginning, or did you know from the get-go?
No, I think in a way it just keeps changing because it hasn't been done before. So trailblazing that is, and again, you probably know this yourself. Yeah. There's a lot of, you learn as you go doing, and there's this tightenings of the criteria, and you go learning as you do. The level of communication that we have now to answer that question, we didn't have it a year ago when we were still putting the website together and seeing
we
what
lived together. We worked alongside. We slept in a ditch together. We shared tears together.
That's
we've gone through this amazing journey. I write 14-page documents. Santi shortens them down to a flyer.
That's mad.
So there's a good tag team in it.
Yeah, that's really good to have that. Like, because you need both. Like one, you need the beginning and the end, and then to be able to come. That's
and really a feminine perspective and a masculine perspective. The female brain works on a level where we absorb everything within our environment like a sponge.
Yeah.
And then we create a picture that encompasses compassion for everybody within, and everybody's needs within the community gets seen. Men are kind of like the spokes of the wheel. You're very direct. You see a goal and you can go straight for it. Similar to like the boys saying the Wicklow Way. We're doing this.
No training.
No messing. Boom.
That's funny.
There's a beautiful dynamic, I think, between us as well, which is that she has this beautiful ability to go unbridled up and, dream big. And I have my anxiety and my apprehensions and my down-to-earthness. But Sarah, how are we going to do that? Between her up and my ground, we kind of find this beautiful balance that works.
Yeah. It definitely
works. Say here in the internet, I'm very proud to work with you.
Hey, it's
been it's a beautiful siblinghood, it's a beautiful friendship, and it's as we usually say, what else is there to do? Really.
I definitely resonate on the thing where you don't know, because when you're saying like there's nothing that's been done before, a lot like the way I was explaining it, I think I was saying it to you and Haley the other day, is like, don't even explain like Croag and everything we're doing, and a lot of it's still just an idea in my head, is that it just makes me think like Mark Zuckerberg, for example, or whatever, but he didn't like, and I'm not comparing to it, it's totally different, but he didn't coin the term social media. Facebook came before the term social media, and it's like, I was saying, whatever Croag is, like, we're not going to name it. Like, you know, in time to come, new structures like Croag Fairy Council, whatever all this is that's going on, something different, someone else will come along and maybe name it, or that's do you know what I mean? Like, it's like someone will, social media became a term when there was more than one platform, yes. Whatever. So when there's multiple of what you're doing and what we're doing and all that, like, then you'll start to see it'll become integrated in general society or whatever.
I suppose we're also trying to, you know, make as you said, a breadcrumbs path to, because there's so many already incredible projects happening all over. Like, it's ridiculous the amount of skills and creativity, you know, and good ideas that are just flowing everywhere. But there's also a great need for spaces where all of that can come together.
Yeah, and the Fairy Council is amazing because there are a lot of projects, the thing is, there always has been a lot of projects, but they don't last long because they, like, the Fairy Council will definitely be the reason a lot of them stay going, like, because of the networking thing, and so that people don't feel like they're alone with it, because lots of people like get ideas and can't, like, you know, won't ever find, or well, without, like, the Fairy Council might never find or even going for a walk and like meeting other people and all this type of networking, might never find like-minded people, and that can actually kill projects. And, you know, it's definitely done it in the past, but like, so that's the real cool thing I see about the Fairy Council. Yeah,
it's community. Yeah. And, you know, it's like trying to mimic nature, because nature has lasted for so long, it's able to adapt. So the best thing we can do is look at natural processes, and the more complex an ecosystem is, the more resilient it is.
Yeah.
The more complex the social structure is, the more resilient it is.
That's cool, yeah. That's class. I like that.
I think there's a commonality in a lot of the projects that are actually drawing in, where there is an echoing within the business plans of the ecology that we're hoping to bring forward, this multi-diversity. We had a meeting last night before we came down, which was very exciting.
It was very, very special. To find yourself discussing that kind of stuff on a Friday night in an apartment in Dublin was
here, North Dublin, Stony Batter, chatting for 4 hours about mycelium, mushrooms, herbs, plant-based diets, and how we can work together. So initially what I wanted to do was just make a forest and plant trees. Like, if I plant the trees, that's very simple. Just plant native broadleaf trees. And then when you talk to the mycologists, they open up this whole subterranean world, and you're talking about soil health, and then you're, you know, all these things
are complex. Like,
it opens up your own imagination, because you're not free to imagine what you can't imagine, but somebody else can come in and
And as well, like, you do like, you know, that's like the beauty of all these type of conversations as well, is because you do need you know, you have an idea and stuff like that, and in your head it works and stuff like that, but then you might hear something like off the mycologist that's like, yeah, but if you do that, this will happen here. But if you get a group of people who all have, like, you know, different different knowledge in each area, but through all their knowledge you get the whole, like, then you will get the right way to do it in whatever situation, whether it's in the economy or whether it's in, like, the environment, anything like that. You sort of,
is it still the main thing though, the planting trees? Like, no. Or
no.
Okay, there's nothing that needs to happen before that.
There's a bit of a fairy road before we get to the main objective.
Tell us how you're going to do it and when.
As soon as possible.
You've diverted off another thing. What happened?
So the idea is really simple, that we want to create a forest dedicated to the Irish diaspora.
Okay.
Because there's so many. I see.
Which is what? Sorry,
the Irish diaspora people that
and stuff. What?
Well, so I'm going to ask, because I don't know, and some people at home won't know, that's all.
So the Irish diaspora, a diaspora is a community that lives away from their homeland. So like the Zoroastrians, that's a very large diaspora, the Jewish diaspora, but the Irish diaspora is actually the largest in the world.
Yeah.
It's the largest in the world.
As everyone outside the place there. That's our goal. A guy that taught me music business in college said to me, he said, why are you trying to reach all, like, Irish podcasts? He was like, there's only 4 million Irish people in Ireland, there's 37 million Irish people outside Ireland. He was like, that's how big your podcast could be. And I was like, fuck.
I've heard so many figures, 37, 70, more, 100 million people.
Or maybe it's 37 in America or something like that. It's massive.
Yeah,
anyway,
well, if you look at Ihasaw and Halloween, that's a festival that's celebrated around the world. St. St. Patrick's Day. These are all celebrations of Irish culture.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, people want to be connected to it.
Yeah.
Who can quarrel with the Irish? It's just so it's a nice little island.
Just having a crack.
Yeah.
Leave us alone.
So I see a balance between the deforestation of Ireland, like it's commensurate to the hemorrhaging immigration since the famine. So there was like Ireland was 80% forestry due to pollen counts before anybody came here, and then over time trees were cut down. But when the Gaelic order was here, they had a law for the trees. There was trees were used for inaugurations, they were used for weddings, they were seen as these immortal beings that watched over a ceremony or something,
They derived your placement within community, they were drew a directive and intrinsic to our law systems.
Yeah, so they did a whole law book dedicated to trees.
We are people of the tree.
Didn't Mankin say that as well?
Mankin was saying that was one of the etymologies for the word Gael is people of the woods. Foresta.
Yeah, and I like looking through the history books, and there's records of like the Irish woodkern. That was the name of the Irish warrior. And when the Normans were here, they had the horses, and the horses didn't fare well in the trees, and the Irish would always run into the trees and they'd fight in the trees. So it was seen as being like a wooded citadel.
That's
so
bad.
Yeah, so when the Normans broke from the Pale and went north to the throne of Ulster, which was like a stone inauguration chair. So this is in the records. They broke it. They broke the chair. And a part of the peace treaty was they had to fell all the trees between there and the Pale so the Norman knights could ride out there.
Wow, that's mad.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So during the 16, 17, 1800s, the island was just deforested, and I don't want to put blame on anybody, but it did happen. And then by
what period was that again? You said
16, 17, 1800s. So 16, 1700s, after the Battle of Kinsale, you had the breaking of the Gaelic order. You had they had these mensal lands, common lands that were owned by the tribes and the people. But when those Gaelic order broke, then it just became open season on the forest.
There was a certain amount of timber trade that was leaving the island anyhow, like with the Vikings and whatnot. So we're a really easy island to get to, and we were so densely forested that they could just pick off little bits by little bits, but it's been just this reformation of deforestation.
Most of the English Navy during the conquering era was Irish timber.
180 mature oaks to build one of those galleon ships.
Whoa, 180.
And they had fleets.
And you say mature oak, so how long would one mature oak have taken to?
They say 300 years to be born, 300 years to live, and 300 years to die.
That's mad. So
anywhere from 300 to 1,000 years old.
So it'd been at least 300 years for one of those trees that they cut down 180 for one ship. That's mental. That is mad. I hope it got them where they were trying to get to anyway.
You ever go out to Hazelwood out in Sligo? It's a beautiful native woodland. It's one of the few remaining native woodlands. So they're a rarity, and I didn't see one until I was in my 30s.
Oh, wow. That's mad.
Yeah, I love hiking, but mostly when you go hiking, you go out walking, you're going to be walking through a coniferous plantation.
Yeah.
I saw one in Dartmoor down in Devon, or Devon, Cornwall, and in ancient forest like that. It was just amazing. And they're all, because of the harsh landscape, the trees grow in a funny way. But they're 1,000-year-old or whatever,
Really special.
Yeah.
We are down to what coverage of woodland now in the present time?
So 1924 we had 1%. 1% cover. So we went down from 80 over a very, very long period of time. We have the Stone Age, but we also have the Forest Age. And people cut down the trees to build everything. For fires, that's kind of overlooked. I've never heard the term forest age. Bizarre. It's so old. When people were moving through Europe, the first peoples, they had to clear the forest to make roads. So you have all these progressions where forests are being cut down. So in 1924 we had 1%. Now we have 11.
Wow.
We have 11%.
11% coverage.
So since when? 1924?
1924.
It's gone from 1 to 11.
1 to 11.
Brilliant.
From 11, it's going down. It's going down. Okay. Yeah, so our target is 18%, and we've gone from 11 to 10.5.
Okay.
So anyone's interested
in what span of time has it gone from 11 to 10.5? Do you know?
It's kind of going back and forth. There's a bit of a bit of chaos in the forestry sector. With licenses and all these kinds of things. So of that 11%, break that into down.
How much do Queel show on?
About 50.
Okay, well,
about 50%.
So they have like 6% or 5. They own like 6% of the coverage. 50% of that.
Yeah, maybe about that. And
that's mental.
70% of it is non-native conifer plantations
for commercial
felling. So this began in the 1950s, where they were like, okay, we're going to reforest Ireland, and they just started planting the trees that grew really well and quickly. And on lands that were cheap, so marginal upland, peaty soils, wetland, bogs, So they drain the bog, plant these North American conifer trees. They're not supposed to be here. And then that was it. That was the policy. So 70% of our forests, they have no functional biodiversity.
That's mad.
I had a little walk down in Cork of a mountain that had this kind of native woodland full of life and bluebells and birds and life everywhere. And out of nowhere, the thing changed to the conifer plantation.
Yeah, it's horrible,
Dark, still, deafness, And I knew this, but it wasn't until I actually was there physically and I noticed the contrast that really hit me. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, how is this allowed at all? It's
there is a massive difference.
Man.
There was this moment in the walk that the boys did. It was 3:00 in the morning. They had, we had agreed a meet spot because we had no reception between the phones at all. So we were having to pre-plan where we were going to meet each other.
Yeah.
So we could cross over, and the place where we met was at the bottom of a hill. And I'm looking at the hill and knowing full well that there was no way those boys were going to climb a hill after a meal in the middle of the night. So I drove to the top of the hill and we ended up in this plantation with the road fork. So it made this big giant Y. And it was a little bit like a medical tent from a war camp. You had boys coming in slightly rocking, looking real glazed, questioning why they were existing in anything that they were actually doing, and the starkness of this woodland with the darkness and, everything else that was around it. And then by the time we got to Dublin, sure, everybody was rushing for their Christmas trees. So they were all these Christmas trees that we were seeing bundled up. And I was like, look, Owen, it's working. Yeah. They're leaving. They've just, they're actually in the building.
That's right, good. Yeah. The exposed Christmas helps there, I suppose. Yeah, that's true. Just get rid of them. So we need more Christmas trees.
So you were saying, Owen?
Oh, yeah.
They are Christmas trees.
Yeah.
It's like a spruce. So they are North American Christmas trees. And so what they do is they come in, they clear fell. So they just remove all of them. And 60% of it goes towards sawdust.
Sawdust?
Sawdust.
That's mad.
Yeah, so it's not even valuable timber. No. It's not even valuable timber. It's just hitting quotas.
Wait, why? So when it turns to sawdust, because of what's left of the cuttings, is that what you're saying, or is the sawdust used for something?
They mince them. They mince them and turn them into MDF board and sawdust.
Okay, yeah, that's mental.
Because that's what makes money. Is it?
I heard that it's going towards power plants as well as electricity.
Oh, yeah, burning like for example, I think the swimming pool in town. The swimming pool in town uses a big shed of sawdust and wood chips and shit like that to keep the pool warm. It's mad,
So we want to change that. So forestry policy now, 30% of our trees are broadleaf. So when we plant, 30% has to be broadleaf, and they are native Irish trees. Brilliant. They provide resources for the native species, and so that's not enough. That's not enough. So we have the lowest forestry cover in Europe. The average in Europe is over 30%. We're teetering around the 11%.
We have the lowest.
The lowest.
It's so backwards.
The forest has the lowest.
The world just has this. I mean, I think Irish people even have the perception that we would have the highest, just because of the, I don't know, the big whole Ireland's a big forest is still, but no one's actually looking around and it's like, no, it's literally just feels like that's.
Well, the concept that we are so green and whatnot. But, I was looking at this. The green sustainability list there a couple of years ago, just having a look, and we come in within the bottom categories of most of these lists towards ecology, the forest being one of them, And
there's no excuses for that when you're a small little island with a small population relative to the other countries. It should be taken care of. Yeah, it should be much easier to make a plan, as you said.
Well, this is
exactly.
Here's the plan.
This
is the idea. I see, and I hope this resonates with people as well, that we deserve to have our forests back. We deserve to have this ecological inheritance.
Definitely,
but it's not going to happen
And forests owned by the people.
A forest owned by the people. So this is like non-profit. We're a charity.
Yeah. Officially.
There is a donate button on the Gaelic Woodland project.
Oh yeah, we'll link it.
Still open.
Oh yeah.
All we need is 200 people to give €10 and we reach the goal. We are so close, and I do believe Owen does want to shut it down if it's not done already.
For the Wolves for the Woods, our target is 5,000. We hit 3,000, which is great. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's very good.
Yeah, but if anybody wants to donate,
the link will be in the description of this episode and in the comments below. And donate 200 people for tenner. That's
come on, there's got to be that many people in Tipperary. Tipperary alone. Come on, make it up and finish the fundraiser.
No, dude, the link is in the description. And
what's the plan then? Buy some land?
So the plan is we're going to buy land in the middle of the country, somewhere in Meath. That's the old kingdom of Meath, West Meath. In the centre of the country, we're going to buy as much as we can. We're going to look at the soil, we're going to look at the hydrology, and we're going to try our very best, working as a community inclusively, to turn that into a complex ecosystem. So create this space for nature to thrive. Yeah, that's it.
And not just survive on the straggling, magnesium,
We're going to bring mosses like Ireland's...
and mycelium.
And the mycelium. Ireland has 3/4 of all European mosses.
That's mad.
3/4 of
we
the
were
entire...
the highest export of sphagnum moss in the 1800s.
Yeah, sphagnum moss.
When you say the highest one, is that in terms of the amount of different types or the amount of volume?
Varieties.
Varieties.
Okay, We've got 3/4 of the mosses of Europe on this island. And I read a book, Moss Identification, at the very beginning. They call out to people in Ireland, please go out there and get your magnifying glass, try to identify it, because not many, they're called bryophytes, not many people look at them.
Okay.
It's like citizen science. You go out there but all these mosses, they all have different purposes within the ecosphere. So we want to bring mosses in. We want to inoculate mycelium, which is the underground fungal network. Grasses, there's very few, if any, native Irish grasslands left. None. So we want to take this land and create something that we can show like posterity. This isn't for us. Like, we're not going to see this.
Have you got a size in mind? Like a size, like kind of like we'll do 5 acres first or something.
The whole of Ireland.
I know, yeah. No, but like to start, you have to start somewhere. So you say first step.
10 acres.
Lovely.
10 acres.
Perfect.
So
that's a good.
Everyone who donates will get a piece of it.
Lovely.
So everyone who donates, if you donate a $5, if you donate 100. You get a piece of this forest. Yeah. It's a 21-year license. That's a reclamation of your ancestral lands, and that ensures that this forest cannot be bought out by somebody. Yeah. It can't be cut down because everybody owns it.
That's really cool.
What do you mean in
after 21 years?
What happens after 21 years?
Well, then what you can do is, so this is an intergenerational aspect of it. Okay. Like, what we need to do is not going to happen in our lifetime.
Yeah, of course.
This is for the next 500-600 years. So this means you can gift and inherit that plot.
That's cool.
We begin, our kids will take over, and then their kids, and it will grow exponentially.
It's funny you say that, right? That won't happen in our lifetime, but sometimes people who say things like that, and the fact that you've something that's quite achievable. No, you won't be clipped. But the fact that it's quite achievable, and you've said like 10 acres or 5 acres or whatever, it doesn't matter. To me, I see it more of a chance of things happening quicker. Like, if you actually physically say, I'm going to get from A to B, and this is where I'm going, I can see that working,
And we're looking at bringing in as many different experts as possible to give these forests the best chance. So I think you could be right.
I think it will.
We get the soils right, the mycelium right. That's going to keep all the predators, the hydrology of the site right. The drainages and things like that, with the best of trees. Maybe seed savers or somewhere spectacular like Future Forest, or that have a deep understanding about the types of trees that actually are in. But we've encountered a slight obstacle in the reforestation. We want to create a working model that we can then offer to other counties of how we can do this. So Owen then realised that by planting the forest, there's no point in planting these forests until we identify a certain issue that we have threatening this island.
Yes.
What is it?
So, okay, here we go. Now, I don't want to be the harbinger of doom and gloom.
Do we have any dramatic music?
Yeah, I could play it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Children screaming.
The laughter and screaming of children.
That's future generations. They're getting freaked out. Well, go on.
The spirit of kids to be. So we have an invasive species here. We have a few of them.
Gorse is actually on the island naturally, anyhow, indigenously. It's very important for the soil bases. But
this is cherry laurel.
Oh,
this is cherry laurel.
Not the dreaded cherry laurel.
No.
beautiful.
Don't be fooled by the sweet name. It's vicious.
You'll see them lingering in garden centres, and they look really nice, but they're sinister.
They've got these beautiful kind of purple flowers. These.
That's the rhododendron.
Oh, that's the rhododendron. Which is the same family, I believe.
It's the same kind of problem.
Yeah.
So these plants are used for hedges. They're used for ornament. They're ornamental bushes. You can buy them in any garden centre.
Ornamental bastards.
They broke out of the gardens, and they are
prolific breeders.
Taken over.
Oh my goodness! Seriously. So they're considered. So as I said before, so 70% of our forests, over 70% are non-native conifer.
Yeah.
Over 10% of our forest is in the hedgerows.
Okay.
You know, when you're driving down the road.
Yeah.
That's 10% of Irish forestry right there.
That's mad.
Yeah. And then
Mental.
the actual native forestry cover we have, and keep in mind we have 1% in 1924. It's like 1.25% now.
Okay,
So
right.
that's and that small little ecosystem that's remaining up in Hazelwood, for example, in Sligo,
Yeah.
Or in Clarny, or in Ards as well, up in Donegal.
decimated by this evergreen, waxy leafed shrub. It just grows. It blocks the light from coming down to the floor, so you don't have any of the herbaceous layer growing.
Yeah, and what does it look like? So it's so I know what the rhododendron looks like. We can put up a picture of the screen actually, so people at home know. And what should people do if they see it?
Get angry.
First of all, be aware.
I had a freak out when I was in Sligo. I was walking through this wonderful, as I said, native Irish woodland. The bluebells were ringing. It was like, I could feel it. And then I turned the corner, and it was just cherry laurel, and I just kept walking, and it was just the same green leaf.
And you can't actually get between the trees. You can't walk through the forest.
I think I know this stuff. Yeah,
dense cover. Elephants eat it. So
so we need elephants.
That's one of the plans.
We need elephants. That would be good. Yeah, that's a solid plan. That'd be fun.
OPW will love that one.
But there is a plan.
I do know it.
You do?
I do know. I just looked it up there, to be honest.
You'll see
I know.
when you see it.
Laurel. We just call it Laurel. Yeah, that's the stuff.
Yeah,
Laurel.
that's the stuff.
Laurel hedging. It's horrible. It is horrible.
Yeah.
It is
What's
horrible.
your experience with it, like just in general?
I know somebody who's done the whole front of their house in a lovely, really old oak trees. They have a lovely period house, right? And no, don't get sick. But they've actually done cherry laurel all along.
On purpose.
On purpose. It's beautiful.
You can buy this on the shop.
It's a lovely period property, lovely oak trees all over the place, and then the whole front is done in cherry laurel.
And that would have been quite keeping with the time, because I do believe it's the period properties that did originally bring the rhododendron in.
Wow.
Now the cherry laurel, but like. I think there is a specific one that releases 2,000 seeds.
That's the rhododendron, each flower.
Those jokes are mad.
I didn't. But they have a flower as well. That cherry laurel.
Cherry laurel. I don't think the cherry laurel. I could be wrong.
I didn't. No, I didn't think they did. No.
So the rhododendron's a different one.
Yeah.
I'm walking through the Hazelwood forest in Sligo, and I snap. Like I actually snap. There's no one in the forest to hear me scream. I start attacking the cherry laurel, I'm breaking them and pulling them out, and I'm like, I will do this. And then I threw them on the floor, and I realized after that they do this thing called suckling. So if you break a branch and you put it on the floor, that will turn into a tree.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That will turn into a tree.
So you are the problem. You've made it worse.
Yeah.
And the solution. He's perfectly balanced here.
It's one outweigh. Yeah.
I hope you cried then, did you?
I don't.
There's not enough prayers.
A nice thing to. So what? Sorry, no. Go on.
This is what we're going to do. So it's about recognizing, like being totally honest about the situation and adapting, and then moving. Because inertia, we can't do that.
Okay.
The remaining forest we have will be destroyed by this cherry laurel and by the rhododendron. So we have to do something. Now, the National Parks and Wildlife Service have made a great attempt at trying to get rid of it, but they're not hitting the mark.
It's still not enough.
It's still spreading.
And the methodology that they're using is potentially outdated. They're using essentially Roundup injected, glyphosate injected into the stems because they found the most success with it. I know down in Clarny they had a great endeavour where they had broken up the national park into grids, and they were systematically each year removing it, because once you remove the dense cover of it and take out the bigger trees, then it's only tiny little babies that you're having to take out. So it is possible to do it, but we want to come up with a strategy that's simple for everybody. To be able to remove it, so we're going to experiment with hand tools. That takes out the need of having a chainsaw, which not everybody has access to. We're looking into possible methods of how we can process this into something else. Can we turn it into a commodity? They make amazing furniture out of the wood. There's a few other things that you were investigating.
So what we're going to do in April next year is get a mehel together. There's about 20 of us going to come out. It's a small action group exploring methodologies of getting rid of the cherry laurel and finding a byproduct. Because if we can finance it, I want a farmer or a landowner to look outside, see the cherry laurel, and then see money.
Cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That's nice. That's cool. Yeah. Why? So, question is, so this is the first time, I'm hearing about, you were saying on the phone the other day, but that was the first time I heard about it, but here's the first time, probably many people are hearing about the rhododendron and the cherry laurel. Why are we all aware, why is everyone, what's the stigma around Japanese knotweed, and why isn't everyone talking about that? Is it just because it's a newly discovered, but everyone's aware of Japanese knotweed? Is that because, if I was to guess, because Japanese knotweed's affecting properties, and it's like an instant sort of, I don't know.
Truth be told, I don't know much about Japanese knotweed.
Okay, right.
Japanese knotweed has root systems strong enough to break concrete.
Yeah, it's messing people's houses up
and whatnot. Wow. It was another ornamental plant that was brought in.
There's loads out the road. There's loads in Turles. He's an architect, so he loves Japanese knotweed.
So one step at a time.
Yeah.
The rhododendron is a large enough trunk. So we're hoping to use this as an opportunity and a platform to bring other tree experts in. So we once again got this co-created. So last night we had a beautiful meeting with two expert myceliists who are, picking up mycelium in inner city Dublin. Who knew that amount of ecology could actually be in concrete so beautifully. And also a plant-based chef who's also training to be a herbalist and whatnot. So he can look at the regeneration, but also feed the workers that were there. So it would be once again a co-created effort between different experts to come up with the plausible solution that we can offer forth to people, that they can implement it in their counties. We take this problem on as a nationwide community working alongside each other.
Did you see about that Lord, what's his name? He has 1,000 acres. Yeah, Lord whatever. What's his
Randall Plunkett.
Yeah.
Of Dunzani.
Yeah. Wow, that's mad, isn't it?
Is he just rewilding it, letting it
he has
just getting the cherry stuff all over the place?
Apparently the farmers around have a serious issue with what he's doing.
Okay.
Because
what is he doing? Sorry, I don't know.
Left it.
Letting it go
wild. Let it go wild.
Okay, and is he dead?
No, he's a young lad.
All right, but he just bought this land.
No, he inherited.
Okay,
it's his land. Right. So I think it's the largest forest in Meath.
Oh wow!
And he's just after converting all this improved grassland, and now he's just left it. So you have the natural regeneration of the trees.
Lovely.
He's doing incredible work.
You don't get to observe that.
No,
very often.
That's so interesting.
That's cool.
And
and he likes death metal.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
The main was quite mind-blowing of the conversation yesterday. They were brainstorming ideas, and we were explaining to the mycologists what's the story with these plants and whatnot. And we would say something, and they would look at each other and say the name of some fungi they know. Oh, this one could, because they're looking for ways to use mycelium to maybe even consume what's left once you remove, all the biomass, the roots and whatnot. And it was just incredible to see these two experts just bouncing very quickly on base of what we were telling them. Oh yeah, maybe this mushroom could work. Oh, but because it eats this other one, so maybe it's from the same family, so we could maybe eat that. And they were already bubbling up with ideas or possibilities, and now they're gonna be doing some experiments.
That's cool.
And see what they come back with, and that's incredible to watch. Happening.
You know the way, like say, Quilta or whatever, were planting all their not native trees around Leitrim, especially, and like the farmers and local people in Leitrim like have a big issue with that now.
Yeah,
well, it creates a lot of ecological disasters. It's not only that the trees are acidifying the soils, which is making it nigh impossible. Then after they're cut, wastelands that you will break a leg if you try walking across.
Okay.
But they have to create drainage systems and roads for these forests. There is soil erosion that happens because the root systems of these trees are actually quite shallow for the most part. So you end up with a lot of flash flooding. You end up with a lot of kind of oily water. My interest is water, so I always notice the water. You get this really dense kind of acidic, oily type stagnantated pools, and then a huge deluge comes in out of the sky, and a lot of people on lower parts of the land are finding their land is actually being washed away because these big channels fill up with water and then wash down their acidness over the soils. And it's making the land not only in the forestry infertile, it's kind of spreading the problem a wee bit more.
They're kind of ugly
drainage
as well, aren't they? Just boring looking, like a lot of those.
I got lost in one.
Did you? Yeah.
Same.
It's because it all looks the same.
No,
me too.
I got lost in loads of quilters forests. I might sue them for mental distress. I've got lost in so many quilter forests.
I'll go down that happy walk down the forest.
Yeah. Same trees everywhere. And it's because it's always trippy as well. It's like being in some weird mirror maze because they're all in straight lines and you're like, where is this?
Did you ever
Did I pass this log before?
Yeah.
Did you ever talk to Quilta about any of these plans or anything? No?
Who?
Quilta.
Yeah, I've spoken to Quilta is about making money. It's a business. Quilta Nature, which is a new department. I think it's a non-profit, and their job is to plant native trees.
I know some people in Quilta, and there's sound enough people, like, you know, the ones I know anyway.
I don't blame anybody.
Definitely.
Like the priorities are different. Like we need to look at the ecological regeneration of the land.
Because we as an Irish people live on the landscape.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So responsibility is responding with ability. Do you know what I mean? So each of us have to respond with our abilities in caretaking our 5 kilometres. Let's just even look at that. I mean, during the lockdown, Owen came up with this concept that everybody should have access to a forestry within their 5 kilometres as a right.
True,
I love that responsibility. The ability to respond.
And it's only going to change ever through the people that we could push new legislations, we could work for campaigning awareness, but until the culture itself doesn't start appreciating the need for it is.
No, definitely.
You know.
And there's plenty of layers for all people to participate in whichever way they can. If you can't get off the sofa, but you're working a full-time job, hit the donate button. If you're on the dole, unable to find work at the moment, come out and help when there is a reforestation or a laurel removing project or whatnot. You know, and we're linking our communication systems through these different projects, so hopefully that we can reach wider audiences, so the more people can get involved. And who knows, you know, like with these metals, perhaps there might be a dance at the crossroads. Perhaps people might be able to get an opportunity to get true measure of maybe that somebody they might be interested in. You know, maybe the exhaustion from working the landscape and sitting down by the fire with a cup of tea, you might meet the love of your life.
And I was actually going to say that it's really cool stuff to like make like friends, because if you're going to do something like that, if that's something you're passionate about or interested in, if you go and join anything like that, you're 100% going to make friends, and that could change your life. Like that's a big part of it. Like
so we're trying to make this as expansive as many people can get on board in whichever way that their abilities participate for. You know, it's at early planning stages, so there's a small nucleus until we form a little bit more strategy, and then once we do, it will be wide open.
I know it's not by far the only independent, proper, solid reforestation project in the land. There's lots of things happening
I
all
think
around
we've
the
come
island.
across 44 and
That's
still
mad.
counting.
Just deforestation.
That's mad.
Projects. So no matter where you are in the island, no matter you are close to one, that you can go reach out and go, hey, can I give you guys a hand or
Yeah,
teach me?
yeah. That's really cool.
My dad would love that kind of thing. He got like a half acre and he just planted loads of hardwood trees all over it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and like, well, the rest of us are all going mental because it's a nightmare cutting grass and shit, you know, with trees everywhere, you know. They give out free trees. Remember that there last year or 2 years ago? All these old hardwood trees. It was this kind of European scheme or something like that.
Did
He
you ever?
pointed out to me there, that he lives near the Phoenix Park. And he says, oh, yeah, that's the lung of Dublin City. And I'd never considered the Phoenix Park like
That's
that.
cool,
And
yeah.
we're in a situation where lots of people are concerned about their breathing and the lungs and their health. Maybe we should be looking at long-term solutions such as air quality.
Definitely, yeah.
The reforestation of the trees is actually a health matter.
Yeah.
It's an empowerment to be taking accountability for the air quality. That's something that we can actively participate with, and we can't necessarily fight the unseen, you know what I mean? But to alchemize this fear into something positive that is giving back not only for this generation but future generations. And that gives a sense of settlement within yourself that you have done something greater than yourself.
That's really cool.
And it's also kind of somewhere to begin. Because I cannot think of anything more important, even maybe above human issues, with the ecology in the state that it is. We can sit here and debate,
I know what you're
left
saying,
or right
like-
or whatever, but until the trees are planted and the forests are back, there's no point really in that concern with, Now I understand that, there's people who live more challenging lives that cannot say something like that, but
100%.
when you look at it from the bird's eye view, it just makes sense. Begin with the ecology because nothing else will.
Yeah, I know, that 100% makes sense. Just something just reminds me what you were saying there is, remember that tree, Owen, we had out the back in our old house? We had a tree growing out our back. But that tree, the hospital gave that, when I was born, the hospital gave that with me, and there was a few years, you weren't born in Clonmel Hospital, were you, Brendan? No. Okay, all right. But there was a few years where the hospital were giving out trees. What?
On 98, they were stopped.
Oh, it's just that you stopped. Well, that was last year, was it? That was last year. Sorry, lads. But yeah, so like for years until so apparently that was like last year, 98. They were giving a tree out with everyone that was born. The hospital in Clonmel.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was mad. I had
good.
we had a tree growing out our back, and it got really big. But then we got a dog when I was like 10, and the dog like kept pissing on it because we lived in a council estate, so it wasn't like. Yeah, so the tree, but it was still mad that that was a thing in Ireland, some sort of scheme. I don't know who set it up, was it someone went to the hospital or whatever, but I mean, like down the line, stuff like that is like for everyone that's, and like there was a real connection with the tree then as well, like that, like the fact that me and that tree grew up together, that's wild, it's mad,
right.
like literally grew up together.
It's actually a
And
beautiful
you'll
idea.
maybe be able to bring your children.
Yeah,
If in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
To be born to that tree and explain, and maybe their tree gets planted beside your tree.
Yeah, that's class.
And, it continues on through the generation.
Yeah.
I think you approached Sligo IT there
Yeah.
a couple of years ago about perhaps putting out trees with everybody who graduates.
That's cool.
That they get a tree, and maybe we can make it once again part of our culture where trees are representing those amazing parts of our
The
life.
rise of like the buried people and the amount of people now in the last 10 years that are getting planted under a tree or buried under a tree, like a tree planted on top of them is amazing. Like, 'cause the more that happens, the more trees, like simple as it. It's just
And they eat carbon.
Graduations, do it for everything. Get Christmas trees,
Yeah.
trees for Christmas every
Reunions, confirmations, everything.
Excuse for
I
everything.
think people would get for the confirmation. You're not getting your money, you'll get it a tree.
I would have freaked
But it
out.
teaches a deeper sense of value, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, now I would definitely appreciate it if it was a tree instead of money. Because the money's gone, the tree would still be there.
When we were talking a little bit earlier, something in my mind kept popping up. There was something in Ireland at one stage called the Fifth Province.
Okay, yeah.
And the
Mead
Fifth
and
Province
Westmead.
had a very specific purpose within this island.
Yeah.
Where we were always a nation that was very multicultural. We didn't always get on. We didn't always see eye to eye. There were many religious fractions. There were many political views for whatever reason. But we realised that they were on the basis of natural law, that things concerning ecology, all differences needed to be put to the side. And this was about the purpose of Ishnok in Westmeath was for that, that people from all over the island would be able to come.
Yeah.
And form and strategize a plan for the following year in how we were going to caretake the island.
Yeah.
We would like to see a revival of that sort of difference where, people can put aside all of their opinions and thought patterns to think about the ecology, and then we can go our separate ways and continue on with our lives with a strategy of how we caretake this land as a people.
Yeah.
As a nation.
Definitely. It's like the only way I think any structure could work in any, like, I mean, Ireland definitely, from what I know of history, and I wouldn't be well versed in it, but from what I could see, it was that was, when you look back at history, they really had something different now that could be applied today. Like having a space where, like, the fifth province, where they'd essentially all the ones who would have knowledge, and, from my understanding, maybe all the people who had knowledge, or the king's druids or whatever like that, would make decisions on behalf of the land rather than on their gain, because just whatever way it was set up was so perfect that, like, there was nothing to selfishly gain by going there. So, like, if you go to the Dáil, for example, to make decisions on behalf of the country, there are decisions you can make that might benefit you, but back then there was nothing you could do. Like, you go there and the only decision you could make would be to sort of work with others to benefit the land and the people, like, I mean, the whole of Ireland, without I think there was definitely something there that we might see a revival in the world. I don't know. I always think about that. Ireland definitely had something there.
I think as a student of all of this myself, I definitely agree with that. I do think there needs to be some very heavy re-understanding and reinterpretation of certain things, certain legends, even certain knowledges we have, laws, Brehon laws that we have evidence for and whatnot, and how we can. I find that sometimes there's a bit of being carried away with the poetry of it all and how good it sounds.
Yeah. Oh, there'll definitely be a lot of...
at the risk of kind of not doing the important work of reanalyzing everything, I think, we have this incredible rich treasure trove in the past that we can draw from.
Yeah.
It's not about replicating it. It's about what can we learn from that, what worked and what didn't.
And what can we take to that matches where we're at now.
Well, exactly. Yeah. How can we modernize and reapply? And that's a big... I'd say it's spiritual, it's intellectual, it's
all levels, 100.
It's a work of many layers, but I think that all of these initiatives open up space for that. As of late, myself, and this is a personal note, I am observing that there's clearly a lack of work in the mainstream Irish culture of sitting and doing the actual job of reanalyzing what all of this mythology, what all of this history, what does it all mean for, I want to say us, but I'm going to say use. I know I can say us, but I mean because I didn't grow up here.
You did.
So I don't carry I don't carry all of that thing with me. I grew up in a very different setting.
No, I
and I understand that in certain ways it's easier for me as a foreigner to observe these things. But I would only love, and I think it would help a lot, all of these endeavors, if we start reminding each other here in this island that it's up to us to see what that past is. And what do we want to stop allowing the mainstream or the Anglo-Irish intellectuals of the 19th century to tell us what it all means. Let's sit down and have these difficult conversations and go, okay, we have these Brehon laws that protected the forest, but we also had this society that was at war with itself all the time, so let's see what we...
And it's not just portrayed, like, because it is just portrayed in this fantasy type
this
of thing.
This romanticized perfect version that was just not accurate. And it's not to, flash away anything about it, but it's about having a word that keeps coming to me lately, which is discernment. Discernment. Let's be able to discern what was amazing about it and bring it back. And let's not repeat the horrible aspects of it because they were quite dire.
Definitely not. So sure, wasn't Lord of the Rings based on, wasn't inspired by Irish mythology, isn't it?
I was reading about that the other day.
Not that it's accurate, but
the elves apparently were quite based on the mythological medieval depictions of the two islands. But I read that Tolkien didn't like saying that, as good Englishman that he was. Yeah. He didn't like highlighting that the Celtic.
All right.
It was to create their own, wasn't it? Was the idea, wasn't it? Was it to Tolkien, wasn't it? Was it to create their own kind of
Oh, and he did.
He did. He made his own world 100%.
But
like,
he did take some descriptions of the two other nine and in some medieval texts that fit the elves.
But like even
perfectly.
The names or something, I don't know. And you just, like I heard someone giving a description of why he might be inspired. Like Mordor might come from like Bar. What's the name of the fucking evil eye Bar? Was it Bardor and all that stuff? Like wasn't that like the evil eye Baelor?
Well, this brings us back to Lou's story very nicely, because Baelor was Fomorian, but he was also two-tone. He was Fearbulloch August Fomorian. When Baelor was very, very small, God love him, the wee boy peered his eyes through a keyhole.
Yeah.
And what he spied was dark magic happening, a bubbling inside a cauldron. The magic spied Baelor as a young boy peeking in through the keyhole, and it spat straight through the keyhole and into the eye. Now, rather than showing the compassion for Baelor, the people around him did not heal and remove the poison from his eye. Instead, they fostered this perception. They fostered this story until Baelor's eye became so heavy with poison, it was said that many men had to lift it upon staffs. And as soon as that eyelid was opened, the poison would begin to spread across the land, sucking all life out of it, a little bit like Roundup. So Baelor was actually, incidentally, Lou's grandfather.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Here we have our Irish version of, that echoes through so much mythology.
Yeah.
The David and Goliath story.
Yeah.
The Odin we were talking about, where the crow picks one eye, and Sulawan.
Yeah.
The one eye, the one vision. So here they are on the Battle of Maitura, just outside of Riverstown. You've got plains of grasses and hills that are craggy and rocked in with the limestone and the bubbling rooks of the water echoing through the hillside. And that battle was so big. I don't know if you know the anatomy of Sligo at all, but Riverstown, I heard tale of one of the wells that they used to heal the two-a-day Dannon was over beside Carramore. Now, if you take in that stretch of Riverstown to Carramore, you think of a battle so actually big.
Yeah.
How many thousands of people would be upon it? So Lou being kept safe because, he had so many skills, we kind of needed him, so he's kind of being kept safe in on top of the hillside. And he sees his brother of the heart fallen within battle. Lou of Silver Arm had taken the dive down into the turf, and he was lying a bit injured and maybe dead. He wasn't so sure. Lou got impassioned and a desire to participate, so he leapt in off the rock, carrying his spear of truth. That he reaches the battlefield, and suddenly there's a face-off. David and Goliath, he casts this spear, and it echoes through this poison vision that Baelor was putting out. I mean, we all know what stories and visions can do to a society and how much fear that it actually can bring in.
Yeah, definitely.
Baelor's eye fell out of his head in that moment. Bang! In on the earth, and became this raging inferno that began to burn a hole, a crater so big that only the waters with their gentleness was able to rise up and quench this burning flame that was devastating everything. In that moment, we see a significant change within time from that deep greed into a time of more magic. This is why we follow the story of Lou. Because we are in a time where we have this opportunity to birth in a new age, where we have this opportunity to see and fall in love with the land once again, that attitude of gratitude, which is the attitude of Gra. And this is what we are here to announce to people. You are all very, very welcome. Please bring your skill braces because all skills are welcome.
That's right, Karen. That was lovely. That's what we're here to know. That's class. That was brilliant.
And scene.
Yeah, scene. So yeah, that's mad. That's really cool. Yeah, so like what's the next big step that you have so you'd say like the one big thing you have to make the Gaelic Woodland project is 10 acres, just for example. Okay, and what about you? Have you one thing that's like a solid, like maybe tangible goal for like all the, like, I say that because a solid thing that you're trying to do where you go, that's another job done by the Fairy Council or next level, like.
We're building a clock.
A clock.
We're building a clock, so we're forming wee clogs in this clock. You know, Ireland's society is so the woodlands and the mycelium being put together up in Dublin with the plant base. They're all within half an hour.
Yeah,
that is one clog. And then we move on, and we look at the doulas. We look at the women that are needing to birth within this island and need the support because they're finding so much difficulty getting into the hospital.
The doulas.
The doulas.
Oh, doulas.
The doulas, the midwives. You know,
the doulas Murphys out there.
We're looking at different aspects.
Oh, fair play. Yeah.
That's cool.
We're looking at different aspects that will build a society where, you know, we can choose to participate in as much as possible. You know, we've got growers, so like the Ferry Council has many different projects. We're very, very happy to be supporting what Owen is doing. We're very really happy to have that support too. The plan is developing, and you know, we are actually looking for a soil expert, I believe. There was one thing that we actually came for. So if there's anybody that's listening to this,
do you know any soil experts? You'll be someone that knows,
and a DNA sequencer.
Oh yes, we are also looking for a DNA sequencer.
No, he doesn't.
They're on our Santi wish list.
Okay,
he's checking it twice. We're just going to keep doing with what we're doing. We're going to keep opening up spaces for people to be able to gather and get to know each other, because that's very important. We're so much living in this, you know, technology age, which is very helpful. But we're wanting people to meet eye to eye and see how we work alongside each other and have a great time. Raise the crack.
Yeah.
And keep fine-tuning the methods. You know, keep fine-tuning how we do it. You know, what to ask of people that we work with.
Yeah.
You know, what's the standards that because of the needs of the work that needs to be done, you know, we need to work in a certain standards. And it's all, as I say, there's a beautiful song in Spanish that says, walker, there's no road, you make it by walking.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and that's, for me, that's kind of how it feels. I know the path is littered with little clues and puzzle pieces and little invisible helps and a lot of these serendipities and guidances. But at the same time, there's a huge part of it, which is, what are we doing? How do we do it? And okay, let's find out how, and let's start walking that way. And as you know, in a personal level, again, that also entails a lot of trust, I suppose. You know, what to do with our lives. It's about openness. It's about making sure that we are living up to the standards that we are expecting of others as well, which is no easy thing either. And doing it all with an open heart and trying to smile and you know, so it's a whole lifetime.
That's really cool. Can I ask you a question? This might be a difficult question, and anyone can answer, because for anyone who wishes to answer, it could be anyone. But there's 5 million people. I don't know how many, but I think there's like 5 million or something like that. So they say people in Ireland. So a lot of what you're talking about is like, you know, sort of get a country involved, like change society within Ireland, change the way, you know, down to like town structures, how they integrate stuff like this. What about like the people? A vast majority of them, they sort of turn their head when they hear the word like healing or spirit or any of those things like that. That's the reality of it. Now, I'm okay and comfortable with those words, and a lot of people who we talk to would be uncomfortable or would be comfortable with those words. But like, how does any of us get like people on board, you know, if we're using certain words or terms that, like, people aren't always closed off to, but it just makes them turn their head because they don't get it, or they don't, or even if they don't get it, they mightn't believe it. Like, how do you see you're going to integrate that sort of sense of there is a large amount of like what's the word, like, I don't know, like disbelief or skepticism. Like,
I would like to say a little thing and then pass the microphone to my sister there, but that's why we try to keep away from those terms.
And we
try to keep it grounded.
Yeah.
I saw this woman organize a very efficient days-long method to clean up a small stone circle that was covered in briar in one of the most important archaeological sites in Ireland. She got together this group of good people, and in 3 or 4 days they had that cleared and beautiful and
one
tidy.
Afternoon, actually. One day that circle was cleared, with 5 good people, a pair of shearers and good healthy gloves. And it was like the people coming who visited that circle on a regular basis were suddenly like their eyes open. I don't think people are as far away from that common ground as what you feel.
I agree. I agree.
I work with the Holy Well, so I see the faith being held by, I always try and struggle to find, but within the common people.
Yeah.
Within the mammies, the daddies, the grandmothers, bringing their grandchildren to the wells. I see such deep states of reverence, belief and spirituality within people that you would not, look at second glance.
Yeah.
The very simple question is, how many people on this island believe in fairies?
Yeah.
And they say, oh, I don't believe in a fairy. Will you cut down that fairy tree? Oh no!
No, yeah,
oh no!
Yeah.
I think it's been a safeguarding for our culture and our community to hide these things, and I feel, especially with the time, it is bubbling in underneath the surface, ready to erupt. People are more looking for permission to be able to have these conversations.
Yeah, that's a really good way. They're looking for permission to have them. That's such a good way. I think everyone wants to have them, even if they don't believe in them. I think the majority of people, even the ones who don't believe it, are very open in Ireland to just have a conversation. But like even what you said there is so true. People are like looking. Majority of people are looking for permission to have them, to feel like it's okay. Sorry.
And what afraid of the truth of it as well, like having these conversations, because
it could be a bit.
Probably know subconsciously that it is true. Like,
that's true as well. Yeah.
What would you say, Owen?
Well said.
That's it, folks. Well said.
Ditto. For me, I'm one of these people that get a little bit uncomfortable when we talk about the spirit of it.
Yeah.
Because the ramification of that is so that it's like I don't want to deal with that. Like when I die, I'll find out, and until then, I'm here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm
Perfect.
here.
That's
I'm
fair.
I'm in this world. I think for me, there was a few steps, and I think it's about duty. It's about duty. It's about honor. So like it's interesting to look at morality and honor. Like, do you do something because it's morally right or because it's honorable? And I think it's worth nurturing both sides. If you don't like the morality of it, the spiritual side of it, think about your life. What are you doing with it? Like, we don't live forever. And that's something that we kind of shy away from in the West, but in the East, they get it,
Yeah.
So like we are eventually one day going to die. And what are you going to do with your life? Because
until that,
the work that needs to be done, nobody else can do it. The dead will not they're not going to get up and help us. They're not getting up to help
bastards.
us. And the kids, they look at us with those big eyes,
Yeah.
So empowerment, that reality that we, blessed with breath, have the capacity to physically do something in this world. That is empowering in itself. I know the challenge is great, but hell, it's a great story, isn't it?
Yeah, that's cool. I love
Standing up against Sauron or something,
Baylor.
Baylor, yeah.
Tomato.
So empowerment, responsibility. I love that. Thank you so much. We have the ability to respond, and it's ownership. So for me, I found a great sense of purpose, comfort in knowing that this life that I have the power to do so much, but that power is increased when we work together. And for example, doing that walk, we had 10 people walking 130 kilometers with all the bravado, grunting, and Howard Shore playing in our head. We couldn't have done it without the support team, without the Ferry Council, Sarah, Emily, and Santi rubbing our feet, making and giving us tea and soup and porridge, and working together. We can do more, and that is inspiring. That is enough. That's the fire.
That is enough, and that's so well said. Like that's really cool. You all give lovely answers to such a hard question. First,
when we were looking for the wording, the quick wording to explain what we were dreaming of, we came upon the very simple phrase of good people doing good work in the land. And I think sums it up very, very simply.
Is your URL fairycouncil.ie?
Fairycouncil.ie. You can link in on it, and in the Crown section you will find links into Owen's Gaelic Woodland project. In the Ishka section you will find all as well. I believe you're in Imbas, are you?
In Imbas, the wolves are in Eola Sarsa, the ancient knowledge, and there's a myriad of amazing people out there to reach out to or look what they're doing, offer help. We want people to use the website to go, okay, I have an interest in this. Who's doing what with this that interests me? And go help.
And yeah, and what I was saying is like, yeah, do go to the website if you're watching this, because you'll see clearly that it isn't like as you said, you stay away from terms like that. You can see that clearly in the website. It's just really simple. There's no, it's so like it's so well put out, and yeah, no, definitely. Your website coincides with what you're saying around you're not using any, big words, big scary words like healing. Duh. Big scary word. Healing.
Talking stick.
Yeah, talking stick. Yeah, I need a talk.
Do you have a talking stick?
Oh, many.
Oh yeah.
Does it talk?
Oh, they stop.
The first talking stick. Yeah, so I don't know. We've been going good. Is there anything else we needed to touch on? We definitely.
I think we had a good.
Yeah, that's it.
There is. What?
What is it?
No, I was just thinking.
Yeah.
So, okay, I get the thing about the forest and all that. That's really cool. Do you ever think of, there was a guy I think it was in Dublin or something, it might have been even you, I don't know, who had these bee corridors. So he decided, like, just say it was here in Matthew Avenue, I want a bee corridor here, so I'm just going to draw a line across Hugh's garden and somebody else's garden. So I don't know in Hugh's garden, but who gives a shit? And just knock on the door and say, hey, I'm doing this bee corridor. Are you up for it? Yeah. Okay, sure, like, why wouldn't I be? And could there be is there another way of doing something? Not another way, but do it as well, that, like, people could, like, you could just virtually map something and get people to take part. Like,
we've already got those maps. We have the ancient woodlands mapped out.
Brilliant.
We're hoping to gather the wood projects. It's time that's usually against us. Yeah. We're human. We do have to sleep sometimes.
Yeah, I
know. But eventually to be able to document and record what each woodland project has reforested and put down.
Yeah.
So then we have a bit of a stock take of what's there originally, what's there being created, and perhaps create these corridors, rather than these huge tracts of land that can connect these forestries. That is one of our hopes and our dreams that we can eventually bring forth through the council.
The documentation, and you can show them in the future. Be like, any that
I got a.
There you go.
Do you know, and with Owen's wonderful Cherry Laurel project, it's a great endeavour where other tree projects can get involved.
Yeah.
Do you know, and we can all kind of get to know each other, and maybe that, when we do that, maybe those links will start bringing those forests closer in together, and we can strategise the planting of Ireland. All we need is good plans, and good plans are being formed everywhere. I'd like to reiterate, we're not the only ones to have done pilgrimages on this island. Another great mind for the trees has been John Crossan. He has been planting the ley lines and encouraging the school children to do so since 1996.
Cool. That's cool. Wow.
And he has done the complete Fire Eye of Ireland. At one stage, they made canoes made out of denim and tar and sailed up the Shannon with all these trees, planting trees in and along the way. He has done this yearly for the last, how many years since 1996?
A few.
A few.
More than
a couple of decades, anyhow, this man has done it. So there's been great people on this island who have layered foundations that are unsung heroes within this world.
Yeah.
That we are just actually using their knowledge to be able to bring forth this new way of being able to interact with our landscape.
Yeah.
Go on.
I just had a thought that, like, this interconnection that we're speaking of is happening as we are, because this podcast is a project that is in the Ferry Council website as well. So even us having this space here is already by definition a co-creation that we're doing all together.
Yeah.
Like, that's so beautiful.
You're in the proof right now. It's like a weird metaphysical example. It's a Christopher Nolan movie.
I got a photo there about a couple of weeks ago off my cousins. They just gave it to me because somebody handed it in to them, and it was me and my brother when we were about 7 or 8, something like that, and my dad and a few other randomers with shovels, and we were out the Dublin Road planting trees, and somebody took a photo. So I'd forgotten all about this. So we just arrived out with trees and we didn't ask anybody at each side of the Dublin Road leaving Thurles. And those trees are massive now. I'd forgotten we'd planted them.
They're huge as well.
Yeah.
They're massive.
That just come back to you?
It just came back to me when somebody handed us the picture.
And they're still there?
They're massive.
Yeah, they're huge.
We did find out in lovely loophole that it's not illegal to be planting a tree in a pub.
I've been dreaming up a few schemes, like whenever it needs to be done. So public land is a huge part of this. Public land, it's owned by the people, held by the council. you're allowed to plant native trees on public land, like suitable. You know, don't go out there. Don't go out planting trees on peatland. Don't plant trees on peatland.
No
bad
rhododendrons or anything like that. Like Jesus.
But you can plant native trees on public land,
That's
and
mad.
it's illegal to remove it.
It's illegal to remove it.
You need to get a license to remove a native tree. There's no law to say you can't plant native trees, but there's a law that stipulates that if you remove it, you need a license to do it.
This might be a stupid question. I don't know, because are apple trees native to Ireland?
The crab apple, yeah.
Okay.
We have 68
loads of different
varieties. I do believe that there's more, but the figure I was looking at the other week was 68 different varieties of apple tree. Now, I've definitely been in orchards. There's one orchard down in Limerick. It's an old estate house. They've probably got about 60 of those trees inside there. You know, you go up to Seed Savers, you will get a whole variety of heritage trees. Now, unfortunately, with our monoculture and the commercialism, everybody wants these perfectly shaped apples that are being imported from Chile or Colombia or wherever they are coming in, you know, well-travelled apples. You know?
Well-travelled.
And you'd recommend them, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
He has some wisdom. They've seen the world.
Great for the pigs.
Yeah.
But we have so many apple trees, crab apples, pear trees, damsons. Like our forests were not just for cover and the soil. We relied on them for fruit sources. You know, like you can eat the hawthorn, you can eat the beech nuts. You know, each of these barks and leaves have different medicinal values in and around it. You know, like the hawthorn. To follow the journey through the hawthorn, it used to be considered our bread and butter.
Yeah.
It was the first leaf that would appear after a long winter, and it was the high dosage of vitamin C. I think the vitamin C in a hawthorn leaf is higher, and then you follow through that journey and you end up eating the flowers, which taste like hazelnuts with a kind of petal overture, and then you come to the berries, which are like oh my God, what are they? They're considered fairy apples, but they're like this beautiful
I know, I don't think
deliciousness, you know, but it's all actually cardatory. That's not the right word. Circulatory.
Okay.
So it's all heart medicine. It all helps the heart. So the beautiful thing about the hawthorn, it will lower the blood pressure if you've got high blood pressure, but it will also higher your blood pressure if you've got low blood pressure. So when you're interacting with the tree all that year, you're actually getting the health benefits from it. As well as the food source. So a lot of our native trees would have been the food sources as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, because someone said that local, we had her on the podcast before, she said there's no problem with the council planting trees, but she was like, because the ones in the parks and stuff like that, I don't even know if they're native or anything like that, but she said, and then, if I was to guess by looking at them, I'd say no. But she said, like, why don't, like, she was like talking about trying to get them to plant trees that grow stuff that people can just eat off of. Like, and it's not going to feed people, but like, what's wrong with a kid just like picking like an apple? She was using an example, like, or something off the thing and just eating it, like, because it's in the public park, like, you know. So it's obviously not a goal, or we're going to feed more people, but it's just cool to have that, like.
Well, Cotswold has done amazing things. Cotswold in England, so they like their hunting.
Okay.
So they pumped loads of money into initiatives, according to the farmers, to replant and reforest the hedgerows, which we believe is a great solution for the Irish farmers here, so they're not having to lose big tracts of land, the hedgerows. Okay. I was over there in the end of summer, beginning of autumn, walking on carpets of apples. All these trees help the ecosystem because it's giving the animals plants and foods. And it also means people in the area, maybe they would not have enough money for the week shopping, could go and get the children's lunches from going for the homeless people, you know, like, and I've come across a couple of walkways where they've done similar, like up in Donegal between Inch Island, which is this amazing, very, very unique bird nature reserve. On one side it's saltwater, on the other side it's freshwater. So you've got this amalgamation of these two different species. But you walk in and along that walkway, and they have got apple trees, they've got blackberries, they've got a couple of plum trees, a couple of,
That's
you know,
cool.
And you can walk along, you'll be walking for ages, you're nibbling away, sure, geez, there's another apple. And before you know it, you don't need the dinner by the time you get home, you know what I mean? And you've kept the doctor away more than once.
Yeah. We were briefly passing through Nina a few months ago in summer to visit a friend. And we walked by this churchyard and they had these apple trees. And they had these big apples in them, so we just picked
No way.
We were walking downtown into them, and just doing that to me. I grew up in Buenos Aires, a big loud city. I was so outraged because like, how is this such a unique experience? To be walking downtown, plucking an apple and eating it, like that should be normal.
Yeah.
Blackberries.
It's that really stayed with me.
Me and Owen when we were really young, go for walks through the fields with the father, and he'd like show us what we could eat and stuff like that, like the blackberries. And then when we grow up and we're like, we'd be with friends. I'd literally grown people with brains and stuff like that. We're trying to convince that they're okay to eat, like and they'll be like, no, I can't eat it. Like they just can't eat.
So
which isn't their fault.
Yeah. Disconnected from the food
and that's
source.
not their fault. It's like, but like, they're so they think that we're mental for eating blackberries. Like, because it's out in the wild.
If you walk the Camino de Santiago, I did it in 2016, the way is protected. And you'll find fig trees, blackberries, all these different fruits along the walk. And I remember at one point I had figs. I had so many figs. But I had 3 deep pockets, and they were just filled with figs. And I had to climb this tree to get them down. And that was like from North Dublin. Like I'd never done that before.
Right?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like it's not people's fault either. It's just Yeah. I can't remember what I was going to say. There was a point on
Dublin.
Yeah, let's talk about Dublin. Ooh, please no.
The connections in North Dublin. What? So, what?
Let's just take a minute of silence.
I love awkward silences. I always think who's going to do something about it because I always feel like I have the responsibility. So lately I've been just like, I'm going to let go of the responsibility.
Somebody was going to sing, no?
Was that? She's asleep.
Where's the dog?
Oh, is she asleep?
Oh, come on. Where is she?
She's asleep. Down here.
Did somebody say you sing? No. Does anyone sing? No, you do.
No, you're saying you do. Yeah, that's what they were saying.
I don't sing. Thank you for pointing me out. Cheers for that.
Or something about something throat.
No, you don't have to say it.
You don't have to. No.
I think that was a joke.
But we'll get very angry if you don't.
Just have a little jingle about the rhododendron and make a little song about it, so
that'd be cool.
Imagine kids playing with a.
Do you ever see yourselves having a fairy council, or even for the Gaelic Woodland project, having your own building, own sort of base, that for any reason?
It's called Woodlands.
Okay, yeah, so that's probably, is that all years? Y'all gonna be out in the woods?
There's so many abandoned buildings.
Where are the postmen going to send their address out? Just when you're getting,
we actually have a postman who delivers address to a well.
Okay.
I actually have many letters where postmen have delivered bits and pieces to the different wells that I've been at.
No way.
Well, my doctors, my van's name is Anya. Anya by the well is on my doctor's
funny.
So
right.
We have letters saying packages of things to the Fairy Council of Ireland.
That's cool.
It's got its own air code, so like we really feel
it has its own air code.
we managed to get the well its own air code. So like, we're in the ecology. The fairies are in the hills. We don't necessarily have standard, stone brick building. Those mounds in underneath the hills. So.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, because I was just wondering, because then it makes, because I was wondering if there was anything, because a big part of ours is like setting up creative studios all around Ireland with our purpose with Crohic, starting with Turles. So it's just interesting. It's always good to find out if anyone's doing similar things to work together and stuff like that.
And what is Crohic?
No idea. Literally none. No idea. 2-3 years now trying to figure it out. None. I don't know. It's like, it is kind of true. I'm saying like it's but like it is. To sum it up, like, because there's so many things we want to do, and like, because even it gets complicated when we're even trying to figure out, is it a charity and stuff like that. We've now realized it's not a charity because, but there's other stuff we do want to do that you need to be a charity for. So there's just like so much that's like a headache. But we're starting to figure out the structure of it anyway, which has actually helped in sort of getting the ethos of it. But like, Crohic is basically to use creativity to help people find their purpose, which will lead to the 3 things: creativity, inspiration, and get ready for the scary word, healing. There's 3. So, but like we do, it's to help. We think the creativity can help with those 3 things. I think if you have those 3 things in some as vague as healing might mean, like it might actually just mean like in terms of mental health, like having something to do. So that's what I mean in healing. I'm not talking about it in spiritual. I'm saying like it's a vague term for something for everything, mental and physical health. If you have like a purpose in your life, everything will fall into place. Now, of course, things will still be difficult and that, but if you have a clear purpose, I'm sorry to say everything will fall into place. That's not entirely true. Like, but it's definitely easier. Life definitely becomes easier when you have that purpose, and you will still have bad days and stuff like that. But also a lot of stuff, we want to do, which is like Haley, who works with us, who's a doctor, like is also like this whole other aspect of like, well, even if you do have a bad day and you do have a purpose, like there's loads of other stuff that she teaches that she's done loads of research on for years on like why you can actually do it. So that's when it becomes into like a mental health thing and how creativity and having purpose can help you mentally. So, the ways of doing that might be workshops and sort of having a platform to get it out there. So we're constantly working on trying to figure out how to do that, what structure to do it, like setting up websites, content, all this stuff that can get that information out there. But a big thing and a big goal that's always been the original thing was to have a place in Thurles, which is, Thurles is like the pilot town to start it off, is have a studio that has all these different sort of facilities and amenities, sort of equipment needed to learn different things, whether it's like art, whether it's like a studio for people who can't afford to go to Limerick to give them loads of money, but like we can work with like, I don't know, maybe funding or the communities to fund like such studios to be able to give a price affordable. So there's no gatekeeping. So if people want to actually like become musicians, they can actually start recording stuff because it's and work with people based on their income and what money they have. And so like we'd never deny anyone access to any of the facilities in the place. But also then, so the other aspect is like having, it's sort of like it's sort of in a way like a community space as well, where like people can use it, other groups and stuff can use it. But I think a lot of that whole community thing gets a bad rap now, because when you see like these community halls now, they're all cold and they're old church buildings, and like you don't want to do yoga in there. Like you're like, you know what I mean? It's too cold to do yoga in there, and it's like, so trying to spice up like something like that. A big part of it came from when they moved the post office out of the town. They kept saying they're taking the heart out of the town in Thurles and like out of the square. And I thought, okay, I understand that for business and stuff, but like, and I had empathy and understanding for that, so I'm not talking shit, but I did kind of think like, should the post office have been the heart of our town, like, or should a studio like this that's all about creativity and that inspires the town like to come together, and also I don't know, and then when you have all that and you have all these individuals who are like healthy and finding their purpose, like the community, they'll start to work out how to fix the community then as well in many ways. It's a cult. I think that's it.
But you have the C word. But you have this long-term vision of opening spaces like that in everywhere around the country.
Yeah, I have we have a map done out of like a road map, but like
you like maps.
There's our map.
Yeah,
there's our map. That's Ireland,
lads.
lads.
I'm gonna do it. Craig there.
Everywhere there's a knot in the wood.
Right. Yeah. But it starts with Thurles because it's easier for us. But our goal then is
Kieran cut down a tree to do that map, you know that? It was a really good hardwood tree. Oh, it was ancient.
To show people Ireland.
The one that his father planted.
But like we want to make sure though it's not like this, like, it's not going to be like purple studios everywhere in the country. We want to.
I thought it was.
Well, it could be, I suppose. But we want to find, like, the goal is like to us to be able to go into, and like say we go into Nina next, find the group of us who live in Nina, because in every town there's people who are passionate like us about their town but don't know where to start. So we can be like, hey, we did this in Thurles. Do you want to do this? We can help you set it up. We've done it before. And then here you go. And then Nina does it well. And then like, the next town does it well. So that's our map, is like, the first few towns in Tipperary. In Thurles is.
Do you know there's a legend that I was told by an older man down by a well, that if North Tipperary and South Tipperary reunited their borders, that you will save the whole of Ireland.
I heard that thing.
I heard something about that. Yeah, wow.
So we are doing great work here, lads. No pressure.
Well, the old saying, the old saying, when Tip leads, Ireland follows. Like that's.
Well, this is it. There's a similar. Well, it's not quite the same. There's a similar initiative. The good health, mental health has measurable results. So up in Sligo, they went for peace funding, being along the border. Border.
Okay.
And it's a carers association type thing where, you know, they have to run their office anyhow. But what they did was they created front space.
Yeah.
And so they use all the funding to create all these different art materials as instruments inside there. They have records, record days. They have open mics inside there. You can come in and just paint a picture. And they're running the care service out the back anyhow.
Yeah.
And communities can just come in and they're really, really fostering that kind of community atmosphere. It's similar to what you're doing, just slightly different, you know what I mean? But,
cool.
you know, that they're working with people with intellectual disabilities and they have nowhere to bring these people.
Yeah.
You know, so they created an environment where that was safe to be able to bring these people, but also invite the general public in. And it's a thriving wee hub of people playing music in the corner, other people painting, other people reading books, other people playing some
That's
chess.
exactly it.
You
like,
know, and it's quite beautiful. So I think you're onto something golden.
Yeah.
If other people are kind of picking up the same type of ideas.
Definitely. Oh, 100%. Like there's loads of,
And
like,
I think these things are a lot simpler than what we originally, you know, anticipate. That these things probably are already there, but maybe the expertise of taking the time to figure out your structures can help add value.
Definitely, like that's what, like I think with everything, it's like the Fairy Council is for, like, you know, it's never been done before, but there's aspects of, you know, loads of other things that you can take from and make it sort of, it helps make things a reality on a level for people who, you know, mightn't be so comfortable, like, you know, it helps, if you can say, well, here, they've done it before, then instantly people are like, yeah, go ahead, so I'll do it. So, like, I don't know, that's definitely a big part of it. Paint. So we want to change the Irish flag to purple flag with the spiral.
we were actually thinking that russet kind of that beautiful reddish kind of orange that comes in, that you see tickling within the Irishman's hair, the glisten of an Irishman's hair, or within the fern growth or the grassland. you know that red?
Yeah.
That our next Irish flag should possibly be that colour, you
That's
know what I mean?
mad.
That it's golden.
Let's do that.
The golden colour, that could be cool.
And another symbol.
Phoebe was actually telling us, isn't it? There's no country in the world that has a purple flag or something, wasn't it?
No, there's a few now, but there wasn't, because purple was the most expensive and rare dye to get. That's why you don't see any country flags of purple, because to make all those flags when they went to war or stick it on their castles, they couldn't use purple. It was too expensive. It was also a sign of royalty.
I think the Spanish Republican rebels during the Civil War, their flag had purple.
Or did they?
Wow. Yeah.
But that's a pure symbol of, like, you know, it was a symbol of power. Purple was the most powerful
It's
colour,
the emperors.
Was the kingly color here.
That's
in
mad,
Northern
The statement.
you're not going to fuck with people wearing purple.
Or
like.
the bishop.
The bishop,
yeah, there you go. Yes.
Yeah, all the.
And I
all
think
the
that's
folks.
the key element, that we have opportunity within these times to thrive.
Yeah.
And not necessarily just survive, you know.
That's so I've written that down like that. I was writing stuff down before. Like, that's actually a thing I wrote down, what Croag is in the end, and in the end goal is in my head is like, that community is like, so where I was thinking about is like, what's a healthy community? And I was writing down when people say, you know, I see our human rights, which is like water and bread and you know, it's like
Supermax.
clothes and shelter and food and water. I'm like, really? Like, when is that? Like, is that still what all we deserve, or what we have
Netflix
right to?
as well.
With like all our not even our ancestors, but even the generations that came before us, who've like put in all this, like you know, they put in all this time and knowledge and effort, blood, sweat and tears for us to not be at a situation in society where we're saying, we also have the right to be like happy or have access to, you know, because the thing about like the Netflix and all that stuff, like that turns off tomorrow. People will say, but you still have water and food. And if we're holding ourselves to that standards, then we're not going to grow as a society or as a collective. Or
The
as
right
a
for a
race
healthy society around you.
Yeah, and the right for like
community.
access to everything.
Well, I don't actually. Sorry to disagree, but I don't think we actually even have the basis of water.
No, I agree with that.
Coming through, you know.
Yeah.
You know, those simple needs haven't even been identified. Owen believes that everybody has a right to access of forest.
I agree. Yeah.
And you know that is actually a basic need, to be able to go into a forest and commune with the trees. You know, so
that was one of the things I taught. Was we just say we've the right to water. We don't say we have the right to clean water. That's why I wrote down. It's like we need the right to clean water, not just say we have the right to water. And like the right to oxygen, and like one of the things that was like, at least I was trying to say, you can't say the right internet or libraries and all that. It was like, we need the right to knowledge and education and like access to that, just like water and but like I totally agree. Like the forest is a lovely one. Like I like that too, and. Yeah. So what were you saying? Like a 5 kilometer, you had access to a forest within 5 kilometers?
Yeah, it was like during the that lockdown thing they did.
Yeah.
I think it was just before, wasn't it? It was the solstice.
The lockdown thing they did.
I can't remember at this point, but it was when they had that arbitrary 5 kilometer. You couldn't leave.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to a friend of mine. There was no park she could go to. She had a young kid, and she didn't get to take her kid out for the summer to go to the trees, and I'm like, that is it's unacceptable. That is unacceptable. Yeah. So let's say, for example, out in Cavan there's an acre and a bit of land beside the County Cavan Museum, and I've spoken to the county council, like, look, let's turn this into an urban woodland. It would be great for Ballyjames stuff. Ballyjames stuff.
Come on, they need something.
It's
hey, they have a very good museum.
They have a fine museum and cafe. No, but it's a lovely town. Actually, it's in my heart. It's a beautiful place. It's very, very, very nearby Virginia and Kells. So I went to the county council. I said, look, you're doing nothing with this land, and I've looked at it. It's just been abandoned. Turn it into a park. Plant some trees. Do something with it. And nothing. Fell on flat ears. I went out there with my partner and we actually cleaned that park because it was full of cans. Not even good cans, like druids. And we had to, so we went out there. We cleaned that up. We spent an afternoon just cleaning that up, like, and it's about like claiming ownership. I think if people knew, and it's very hard. I've been to the land registry, the valuation office, Land Direct, trying to find a map of public land in Ireland. It's like the holy grail. It's hidden. Because if people knew how much land they owned, like it's owned by the people, they demand something be done with the community woodlands spaces where you can go out and run. Horse and tracks, like get back on the horses and go for a run. Like, make something happen. It's your land. It's your land. It's your inheritance.
Do you know
it was fought for you. Yeah. You're not contained to a small. I got an apartment in North Dublin. That's my home, but it's not contained within those walls. Like, this island is a place to explore and to grow and to build communities. And if you don't have a place to go, how are you supposed to build a community?
I do think there's a disconnect between the local authorities and the people here in Ireland that there isn't in other countries. Like even in England, like I was in England for 7 years, and there was like Lord Edgecombe's Trust or something. They knew everything about every bit of policy that was about to come in. And it was all these old people sitting around saying, yeah, no, they're thinking of doing this, but we won't agree with that. And well, it was the people kind of in Devon and Cornwall that ran the council rather than the council telling you what's going on. And you just, oh, really? But I feel in Ireland that it's
probably a whole other episode. We'll be talking about the complexities of, how things were left to be done in a certain way after the whole debacle. Left a lot
we are detached from our local authorities.
Ownership.
Yeah, we are. And
not wanting to step on people's toes. A lot of my work with the world has been giving permission. It's okay to clean this water source. It's okay to sit here. It's okay to plant your flowers and make this beautiful and nice. I can see what you're doing with your whitewash paint. Perhaps use lime that actually helps with the water quality. And just a little bit of guidance and giving people permission that this is theirs. Nobody owns it.
You're right.
Possession is 9/10 of the law.
And it is taking ownership of the thing, that we do need to take ownership. So if that land, it's our land.
And it's not just the land, it's all that happens and it's contained. There's the mythology, it's the culture, it's the traditions. There's a strong need to reappropriate what belongs to you as a people. As a free, independent people that you can be now.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But it is getting better.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, we're all here. And all these wonderful listeners are all there as well. And I'm sure there's lots of amazing people within them.
Definitely.
And
lots of amazing people they know. Yeah, exactly.
Who do they know? And this is where our strength is. Yeah. We're only 3 people removed from each other.
Yeah. That's
we all know each other. So, this is a small island. We have so much value. I remember sitting in Belmullet and I was beside this well and it was winter and I was like, or maybe it was summer, timeline is anyhow, but the sun was coming up and I was like, get out of bed, get out of bed, get out of bed, go see that sunrise, and across the bay you could see Knotweed. and the sun came up in behind, and it blasted out the top cairn of Knotweed and sent the shimmer of light that caused the roads to become like gold. And I got so excited in that moment. We have so much that this island offers. We have so much potential. Our fields are green. Do you know, we have so many people that are enthusiastic and experts. You know, grassroots experts of exemplary amount of skill bases. You know what I mean? And it's like, come out and bring your skills. Yeah. Let's see what you all got. I'll show you yours if I... No, I got that wrong.
You show me your skill and I'll show you mine.
You didn't know you had it, but I'll show you.
Okay, I thought of a super short thing to
jingle?
sing
lovely.
before we
Okay.
finish.
So we finish up then.
We
Yeah.
need to finish.
We need to finish, right. So it's a song by Muse. It's a one that's lovely. So it says, we shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the wells. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to live in love.
Thank you. That was lovely, man.
Through the bus.
Lovely.
It sounded so nice in here.
Lovely.
In this world I'm in. Yeah, we'll finish up now. It was a really good conversation. Probably the longest one we've had.
Oh, Jesus.
For all good reasons.
But the best one we've had.
Yeah. Definitely. But yeah, that's a good sign. Yeah, thanks a million to all you coming on. And what's your name again?
Evie down below.
Thank you, Evie, for coming on. Your input was very needed.
Very settled.
We appreciate your words, Evie, and your time, and as well with all three as well. So the links to the Fairy Council as well will be in the description below, and to donate to the project that
The Wolves for the Woods.
For the Wolves for the Woods.
So there's a few. I just want to say that with regards to the Gaelic Woodland project, I'm not being paid for this. No one is being paid for this. So 100% of your donations, like aside from the tax that they charge for donation, that's all going into buying land. So my hope is that people hear this, they want to take part in it. It's an open door. We're being inclusive. You're welcome to partake. If you have ideas, reach out. If you can't, donate, and we're gonna start with a small forest and grow.
Yeah, and you can see that they're a registered charity on charitiesregulator.ie. We will be putting Charities Regulator in the description below. Not really. But yeah, you're a fully registered charity anyway. So all the money.
He checked.
It's all good. You're on the files now. But yeah, no, that's really cool. And thanks a million for you coming on. And thanks to everyone for watching on YouTube watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify. Don't know what day. This might be out on like Christmas the 23rd. So have a good Christmas if you want. You don't have to do any, like, it's all up to you, freedom and all that. Like, if you want to have, it's up to you. Have a good Christmas if you want, and if you can, have a good Christmas. Thanks everyone for listening and watching. Goodbye. See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks. That was fast.
Okay, can I pee?
Yeah.